Want fun and excitement? You got fun and excitement. Welcome to the NFL draft. It is day one. Barrett is flexing. Ray Didinger is in his notes. I am Danny Pommells. We are on the clock. Thanks for joining us here, wherever you are catching us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, the full gamut. And here we are. A lot of things to talk about, but the Eagles are on the clock right now as we speak, and we are hearing that they are going back to the SEC. We are hearing that they are going to pick Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle, top of the list. And Ray, Barrett's excited, but I'm going to start with you because you talked about this being a position of dearth here, that there weren't many great players at this position, but yet the Eagles get the toast of the class, and Jalen Carter is what we're hearing. What do you make of this? They move up to the ninth pick to make that selection and the swap with the Bears. The Bears get the 10th pick and a fourth rounder in 2024. What do you make of what we're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple aspects to it, Dan. Number one is I think Barrett would probably agree with me. I'm very surprised that Carter fell this far. I mean, he's a dominating player. I mean, anybody that saw him play at Georgia knows that. This is not a draft that's very deep at this position. I mean, he was clearly far and away the best interior defensive lineman. I mean, it's a big drop off to the next guy. So if you were looking for an interior defensive lineman, you really had to start with Jalen Carter. I didn't think the Eagles were going to realistically have a shot at him. I mean, I really thought that Seattle was going to take him at 5. If the Eagles wanted him, I thought they were going to have to trade up higher than that, which would have been very expensive. But the fact is, the way things played out, he stayed on the board longer than I thought. Once he got past Seattle, I began thinking, I don't know what Barrett was thinking, but I was thinking once he got past Seattle, this is doable now, and he falls all the way to 9. It's a very easy trade for the Eagles to make. And we had said in the pre-show, I thought that their biggest need was finding help on the defensive line, depth on the defensive line, and somebody that could give them that interior pass rush that they lost with the defection of Javon Hargrave. And they got the best guy in this draft by leaps and bounds. So good work by the Eagles, good work by Howie Roseman, and the Eagles' defensive line looks a whole lot better than it did about 15 minutes ago.
Now, Barrett said he would shave his head if they picked Jalen Carter, and he's already done that, Ray. He's already taken care of that. So here we are, Barrett. What are you feeling, man?
What am I feeling? I'm feeling Super Bowl. I cannot believe how he was able to engineer this trade. Thank you so much for the Texans for just jumping up there and taking those 2 players off the board. Then turn around and quarterbacks loving that. I cannot believe that Witherspoon went before Gonzalez, which sent a kind of like a ripple effect. And now we're about to get Jalen Carter. This is absolutely amazing. I'm done. I'm finished. The draft is over with. We're good.
Oh, you feeling good, B?
He sit back. We're talking about the best player in the draft. Jalen Carter was the best player in this draft. If it weren't for the quarterback position being the premier position, he would have been the first player in this draft taken. His tape shows it. Okay, he messed up a little bit as far as not being in shape for a workout. He has plenty of people in that locker room that will make sure he comes in shape. He has the guys that he would play with last year, Dean, Davis.
Yeah.
Both of those guys will make sure he'll be on track. And then he has the old head guys. He's got Fletcher Cox. He's got Brandon Graham, who are going to teach him all the little idiosyncrasies of being a pro. This is the best locker room this young kid could be in because he has support from guys that have been around and also teammates that have that familiarity. This is great for this Eagles team. It really balances out how they approach the future because now you don't really have to sign older players back. You have 2 guys in the middle that played together and can be a beast together.
And we heard Jalen Carter in our pre-show on the clock. He was very complimentary of what Nakobe Dean brought to that Georgia locker room and how much he looks up to him and is affected by his leadership. He spoke very complimentary about Jordan Davis. Howie going back to that SEC champion picking players from that Georgia championship team. Seems like an easy formula to follow, though the Eagles hadn't quite followed that formula in the past, Justin Jefferson. But as it stands right now, Ray, how excited are you that they settled on a player like this, that he fell to them? And what about the Bijan Robinson situation going at 8? Do you feel like maybe there was some jockeying there that maybe they were thinking about Robinson, and since he was gone, they decide, well, let's go get Carter?
I would think not.
Okay.
I think the fans were hot from Bijan Robinson,
Mhm.
but I think the Eagles were thinking. I think the Eagles were thinking Carter all along if they could get him. The fact that he stayed on the board a little longer than most of us thought, certainly longer than I thought, made that a realistic possibility. And when you look at where the Eagles are right now and what their biggest single need was, and look, I was a Skoronski guy. I was about fortifying the offensive line, and I still think that would have been a good pick. But to be honest with you, I did not foresee this opportunity for the Eagles. I didn't think Carter would be there at 9. I didn't think the Eagles would be in position to make what is a relatively inexpensive deal to move up to ensure that they get him. And you put him on that defensive line. I mean, he is a really good interior pass rusher, and he's got a lot of versatility. He has got a tremendous first step. If you look at any of the footage, he's got a tremendous first step for a big man. He's 6'3", he's 318 pounds, but he's very quick out of his stance, and he's got, in addition to his strength, he's got a lot of agility and quickness to him, and you just don't see players like this very often. Now he also played a lot of different slots in the Georgia defense, which was one of the best college defenses I've ever seen over the last 2 years. But he's been a 1 technique. He's been a 3 technique. He's been a 5 technique. He's played all these different spots on the defensive line. And I know there's going to be questions about some of the issues he's had off the field, the tragedy in Atlanta after the season, the fact that he didn't work out at the combine, the fact that he had a poor pro day. All of that stuff raises red flags. There's no question about that. But Barrett said it, and I agree with him. I think coming to a team like this, a team with a championship pedigree, a team with a lot of really good veteran players who can provide really good veteran leadership, plus a couple of the guys that played with him on that championship Georgia team 2 years ago, Davis and Dean. It's a situation that can be just tremendous help for him as he grows into this next transition of being a professional player as opposed to a college player. But the talent is there. The Eagles certainly had a need. And right now you put this guy in the middle of this defensive line with Reddick and Sweat and some of that edge pass rush you're going to get, Graham. The Eagles have a very, very good defensive line right now. And I didn't expect that they would have this opportunity, but they did, and full credit to them. They took advantage of it.
Carter on the stage right now with Roger Goodell, embracing him, and very emotional. The guy crying as he walked up to the stage, and when he embraced Roger Goodell, cried even more. But the Eagles contingent in Kansas City, well represented, and the Birds getting a guy who Barrett, I mean, you could say that with them picking here in the top 10 after winning the Super Bowl, he could be, Jalen Carter, a franchise-altering type of player just because of how he kind of carries the guard over from Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and maybe him and Jordan Davis kind of usher in a new era of Eagles defensive football. So this could be a very key, pivotal piece that the Eagles, thanks to Howie Roseman, were able to pick this high in the draft.
I still can't believe that he fell that late. I mean, just, simple fact, I want to thank Kyler Murray also because he has been raving about Paris Johnson Jr., for the past month and a half, saying he wanted somebody like that to protect him. Well, he got his wish. They went out and got his guy. So now we have the best player in the draft coming to Philadelphia wearing midnight green. I love this. This kid is a force. You know what I'm saying? Talk about athletic ability, being able to come off the ball, his explosiveness. Watch how he humps this guard on this play. He humps him and then makes it have enough to change direction and get out there and make the play. He's one of the best players I've seen in this draft, if not the best player I've seen in this draft. So kudos to the Eagles. Kudos to Howie. Howie did it again. And at this point, I cannot believe that they were able to do it.
All right, little technical difficulties with our video there, but we're working on that. But Carter still having emotions pouring out of him as he's speaking to the reporters after being drafted by Roger Goodell. This means a lot to him and could mean a lot to the Eagles. We will talk more Jalen Carter in a minute, but also something going on with the Birds, gentlemen, is that they received a higher pick in the 3rd round based on compensation from a tampering investigation from the Arizona Cardinals, because the Cardinals reached out to Jonathan Gannon a few days after the NFC Championship to speak with him about their head coaching position, which is a no-no to speak with him during that time. The Eagles gave the Cardinals the 94th pick and a 2024 fifth rounder, and they get the 66th pick in the NFL draft, which is high in the third round. Ray, what do you make of that? And were you aware of this tampering investigation? It really caught me off guard, and to see the compensation that was involved, obviously something of note. What did you make of this when you heard about it?
A little bit surprised. I had not heard any rumblings about it. There is a lockdown phase after the championship game that you're not supposed to make contact with coaching candidates. I did think that it was a little curious that Jonathan Gannon's press conference came so closely on the heels of the championship game. Right. It did sort of suggest to me, especially because the game was played in Arizona, that there may have been some contact going on. But you're right. I mean, this is not any small matter now. A third-round draft pick is pretty significant and a pretty significant punishment. But if there was that punishment and the Cardinals broke the rule, then they got to pay for it. But another advantage for the Eagles. I mean, so far this has been a good night for the Eagles. I mean, they wind up getting a player that they probably realistically didn't think they had that good a shot at. Certainly not to get him at 9. And then you're picking up an extra third-round pick in the process. That's pretty good night's work. And if you're an Eagles fan, I know a lot of the fans had their sights on other players, particularly Robinson. But to come away with Jalen Carter at this point was something I didn't foresee. But he really is a good player, and he addresses an area that the Eagles really needed to improve. And he's going to come in and he's going to be a force. I really do think that there aren't that many guys with his size and his combination of size, power, and athletic ability playing at that position. And it's going to be a different game coming up. But I mean, he's played against the best in college, and Jordan Davis found out that it was a tougher game up here, and Carter will find the same thing, but he has the skill set to deal with it. He's a really good player, and I didn't think the Eagles were going to have a shot at him.
Heck no.
Good. Hey, listen, good for Howie Roseman. I mean, he had this kind of just happened. He got a little lucky here that Carter fell far enough that he was able to make the deal, but he made the deal and he brought home a really, really good player, a guy that's going to be on the field right there in day one, and he's going to make a difference.
Barrett, we'll give you the final word on this. Like Ray said, do we even need to laud Howie in this situation? It seemed like this all fell into his lap. He didn't really have to do much.
It did, man. But just for him having the wherewithal, say, all right, we'll give you a fourth rounder for next year's draft, in which they have 12 picks, no, now they have 10 picks because they just gave 2 away. It's worth it. Carter's that much of a difference maker. He'll be in this defense. Now we're going to see which Georgia guy starts. I'm anxious to see this. Is it Davis? Or is it going to be Carter? This is going to be a great problem to deal with. Iron sharpens iron. This is great for this Eagles team. I love the defensive front now. Now you have to worry about the front line. You can't be worried about getting our backers. So I like this pick for him.
Ray, your guy Skoronski going to the Titans. So interesting note there. But hey, we will rejoin you at after the 30th selection. So the Eagles' next pick, hey, they might trade up. So stay abreast of the situation. We will be coming your way after their next selection, whether it be 30 or before that or later. But be sure to join us at 11 o'clock straight up, no matter what, on NBC Sports Philadelphia with our On the Clock special recapping what happened. And we'll be on the air until Howie Roseman speaks to the NovaCare Complex. For Ray Didinger and Barrett Brooks, I'm Danny Pommells. Thanks for watching On the Clock. We'll see you a bit later in the night.